Obed was the father of Jesse. Jesse was the father of David, the king. David was the father of Solomon by Bathsheba, who had been the wife of Uriah.
I was seen. And that one moment, everything changed. After my bath, I prepared for bed. With Uriah, my husband, gone to war, I was alone and had little to do. Clean and ready to lie down to sleep, I heard the knock at my door. "Open, in the name of the king," came the shout from my stoop. Oh no! Uriah, I thought. I threw on my robe and ran to greet the palace guards. As I opened the door, I was informed that my presence was requested immediately at the palace and prepared to ask for a moment to ready myself when they roughly stated, "Now." Bowing my head, I walked out the front door. The walk to the palace was much faster than I thought. We walked past the throne room, past the official audience rooms, and even the more private alcoves. The guard then stepped into a room and opened a door, allowing me to enter alone. Looking around, I was confused. Where am I? I thought, when I heard someone clearing his throat. There he was, the king, in his bedchamber. I have been asked a lot of questions about what happened next, and the truth I can say today is Jehovah was not pleased. As I walked back home, it felt like months had passed. I stepped back into my house, and memories of Uriah flashed in my mind, and sensed his presence in every room. I broke. As the tears streamed down my face, I fell to the floor. What have I done? It took me a while to get back to regular life. I dreaded every knock and feared any official news of the war. It didn't take long for me to realize something wasn't right. I was tired after doing a small amount of laundry. My simple dinner would upset my stomach, and no amount of lavender could keep the sheep smell out of the house. I am with child. I rush for a messenger and send word to David and hear nothing. Several weeks go by in silence. Silence from the palace, silence from the front, silence from God. Another knock at the door. Uriah was dead. I was numb. The week of mourning crawled by. People came, left food, and tried to encourage me. The 8th day after Uriah's death, another knock at the door. A palace guard stood on the stoop, his head bowed low. The king is requesting my presence again. This time, we walked to the throne room. There were only a few people in the room, and one of them was King David. He stood and motioned for me to join him. As I walked to the front of the room, I realized what was happening. He doesn't ask me. He just nods to the rabbi, and my wedding ceremony starts. As we recite the words, peace comes over me. I am not alone. I wish I could say that peace stayed. The days in the palace were quiet, but not restful. I learned the rhythms of a new life, but my heart had not caught up with my circumstances. I was no longer alone, yet I had never felt more seen or more exposed. Then, one day, something shifted. I heard the whispers that the prophet Nathan was with the king. David was different after that. He moved as though carrying a weight he could not set down. I did not ask. I had learned that questions did not always bring truth. It was a servant who told me. The prophet Nathan came, she whispered, her hands trembling as she folded linens. He spoke to the king, told him a story about a rich man and a poor man's lamb. I felt a chill run through me. He said, the rich man took what was not his, and king, the king burned with anger. She paused, her voice lowering. Then Nathan said, thou art the man. What happened? I asked. She shook her head. Judgment from Jehovah. He said the child. Her voice broke. The child would not live. The child. My child. I placed my hands over my stomach as if I could shield what had already been spoken. That night, I did not sleep. And when the sickness came, I knew. Days blurred together. Pain came in waves. But it was not only of the body. It was deeper, heavier, like something pressing down on my very soul. I prayed, though I did not know what to say. I wept, though there were no tears left. I felt it then. Not anger, not abandonment, but the weight of Jehovah's hand. Not cruel, but just. And I understood in a way that brought no comfort that what had been done could not be undone. When the child was born, he did not cry. For several days, David wept and fasted, but our child died. I do not remember much after that, only the emptiness, the stillness, the absence of something that had once been so real within me. Then David came to me. He spoke softly, differently than before. There was no command in his voice now, no assumption, only something broken and perhaps something humbled. Time passed. Slowly, the palace felt less heavy. The whispers faded. Then, one day, life stirred again. When I realized I was with child once more, but this time was different. There was no silence from God. There was no shadow hanging over every moment. When the child was born, He cried, and I did too. David held him with a gentleness I had never seen before. There were no grand declarations, no audience, no spectacle, just a father, a mother, and a child. They named him Solomon, and for the first time in what felt like a lifetime, I allowed myself to believe that Jehovah had not only seen what we had done, but had also seen us.